Good morning, neighbor. Alicia Dolan here at Crafting in My Corner. Thank you for joining me this morning. I missed Stampin' Sunday yesterday because of Halloween and trick-or-treating and poor planning on my part. So here I am, and it's Monday morning, and I thought we could make a card together. Today I'm going to use the Peaceful Cabin stamp set, and I think I am going to focus on this bundle for the whole month of November. So if you would like to follow along with me or get the bundles so that you're ready to make the cards with me, I'm going to make one card each week using the Peaceful Cabin, either just the stamp set or the stamp set and the die bundle. So I'm going to turn the camera around and we'll get started with today's card. It's probably one of my favorite cards. I really like the color combination of it. Let me turn the camera around and we'll get started. And I will post all of the measurements later in the description when I post the video to YouTube. Hopefully this video doesn't have any problems posting to YouTube, because lately I've had a little bit of trouble with the video saving and then posting. Hold on one second. My camera is a little bit off this morning. Okay, so this is the card we're going to make this morning, and today I'm going to start completely from scratch. Not from scratch, but I did make a little mistake on my card. So when I open it up, there is no place to write a message. So we're going to adjust the measurements just a little bit and figure out a way to make that work. So to begin with, we're going to start with a piece of Night of Navy, and we are going to cut a piece that measures 4.5 by 5.25. So I'm just going to put that in my trimmer, and I'm going to do 5.25 first. Nope, I'm not. It's going to be 4.25 by 5.5. Okay, so we're going to cut it at 5.5, and I'm going to set this one aside, and then we're going to cut it at 4.25. So generally what we would do is cut a piece that's 5.5 by 8.5, and then we would score it at 4.25. But we're not going to do that today because we're making a fun fold card. So there is our first piece, and then we need another piece of Night of Navy that's 2 by 10.5. So actually I need to get a second piece out because I should have cut it the other way. But now I can make a second card later. Okay, so we're going to cut this one here at 2. And I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to move all my pieces up here so they're out of the way. And then 10.5. So we're going to set it right there. And then I'm going to score this piece at 5.25. And I will post all the measurements later. So our first piece was 4.25 by 5.5. Our second piece is 2 by 10.5, scored at 5.25. Is that right? I just tried to fold it in half, and that, let's see. No, because I didn't cut it at 10.5. I cut it at 10.25. All right, So what have I got here? 5 1/4 on one side. Okay, so we will make this work anyway. But what it should be is 10 1/2 and scored at 5 1/4. So this piece is going to go this way. And then we need to cut a piece of Sahara Sand. But we need to adjust our measurements because I cut mine at 4 by 5 1/4. But what I want to do is come down just this far so that the bottom part can be a piece of white. So let me measure what we need here. So I think we'll do 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so trying to think which would be the easiest way. I'm not sure. So we're just going to cut it and we'll see how it goes. All right, so here's 2 1/4 by 5 1/4. And there is our piece that will go up here. Okay, we also need a piece of Sahara Sand that goes behind this white, and that piece is going to be 3 1/4 by 4. So we'll do 3 1/4. And I'm not necessarily making the best use of my paper this morning. I am just working along and seeing what I end up with. And then I can use my scraps for something else later. So this piece of Sahara Sand is 3 1/4 by 4. That's going to be our piece for on the front. Then we also need a piece for the back of our seam. And that one is going to be 1 7/8 by 1 7/8. And the reason it's an 1/8 measurement instead of a 1/4 is because I wanted the edge around our sentiment to be really small. So 1 and our trimmer has measurements for all those on it, so it makes it easy for us to cut exactly where we need it to be. So we're going to do 1 7/8 by 1 7/8. So there are our pieces of Sahara Sand, and next I'm going to cut my pieces of white. So I'm going to need actually 3 pieces of white. I'm going to need one. Let's start from the inside again. 1 for the inside, and I think I'll make it just tall enough that it'll layer underneath this one. So it needs to be 5 1/4 wide. We know that because our piece of Sahara Sand was 5 1/4, and we want this one to match up with that. And then let's measure. We'll want the bottom piece to be, let's make it 2 inches tall. Okay, so there's 5 1/4 by 2, so those will line up nicely. And then we need 2 more pieces. We need the piece to stamp our cabin on, and that will be 3 by 3 3/4. So let's do 3 3/4 first. By 3. hope you all had a wonderful weekend. It was not too cold. Halloween. It was a little chilly out there. I did wear mittens. I get cold really easy, so I had mittens on. But the kids didn't seem to think it was cold. And then our second piece of white is going to be 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. Let's see if this one is. Nope, that one's not big enough, so I'll save that for a different project. And let's see if I have another. I have a white up here that's left over from something else. So I'll measure out my square from that. So 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. And my table is kind of a mess this morning. Now, hopefully I'm only showing you the cleanest part of the table. So that is going to go like that. Let's start with our embossing. So this piece of Sahara Sand we're going to emboss with the 3D bark folder and the Stampin' Cut. I don't have the Stampin' Cut emboss machine, but I do have the Big Shot. Good morning, Kathy. Did you have trick-or-treaters at your house, or were you with Mary? All right, so we're going to use, this is the 3D bark embossing folder. So if you notice on some of these folders, most of the newer ones, there's a little line on the right-hand side. So what I like to do is line up my paper along that line, and then I know it doesn't matter as much with the bark embossing, but some of the folders, like the brick, you want your bricks to be straight. And so if you line them up along that line, you get a much straighter image. Okay, and then when I run mine through, because I do have the older machine, I have to use this silicone mat. And then I put my embossing folder in next, and I always put the folded edge first. Hold on, I gotta scoot it a little bit because it's pushing everything off the table. I'm short on space a little bit this morning. And then I'm gonna put one of the clear plates over the top. And when you push it in, you don't want to feel, you want to feel a little bit of resistance, but not so much you feel like you're going to break your folder. So I'll run that through, and let's check and make sure that we got the image we wanted. So it looks like this. So you can use, really you can use either side, but I think I like this one for today. Now let me move this back out of the way. Okay, and here are our pieces. And we'll do our stamping next, but I want to show you how to attach these layers together first. All right, so let's see. I'm not sure which of those layers is supposed to be the front, but I'm going to use this one, I think. I think I said the other one when I first looked at it, but that's not what I ended up wanting. Okay, so here is our base layer, and this is our piece that we cut. Now, both ends should match up, but because I didn't measure quite right, they don't. On this card, however, it will get covered up. So really, if you didn't want to use this much cardstock, you could stop somewhere over here because we're going to layer over top of that. Now I'm going to add some liquid glue to this, which will be the side that attaches to the base of the card, and then I'm going to turn it over. And what I'm going to do is line up this left edge so that it's about 1/8 of an inch in along the side. And because it's liquid glue, I can slide it just a little bit to make sure that my edges are as straight as I can get them. They're probably not perfectly straight, but as straight as I can make them appear. And then next I'm going to add my white piece. Now that piece was, I think we said 2 by 5 1/4. I'll make sure all those measurements get up in the YouTube description in case anyone wants to case the card. And if you don't know what casing is, it's a term for copy and share everything. So any of the cards that I make, that I share with you on YouTube or Facebook, you can copy the pattern and you can make them and use them however you would like. Now, I actually got the idea for this card from a Google search, and I just searched for fun fold cards. So here's my piece of Sahara Sand, and it's already embossed. I'm going to add my glue on here. I feel like I'm being a little chatty this morning. I don't know if I'm, hopefully I'm giving you all the directions at the same time. I'm going to turn that over. I'm going to line it up along the top edge of the white, and then just so that it's, inside my card. And then when I close the front, it'll be covered up. Now, it didn't cover up quite all of my white here along the edge, but I suppose maybe I should have made it a tiny bit smaller. Every card turns out just a little bit different. Even though I feel like I'm measuring exactly the same, they turn out a little bit different. Okay, so here is our card, and you could use this pattern to make any card you wanted to. Let's set that base aside, and then we're going to do our stamping. So here is my Stamparatus. And I got out my All for Baby card set so that I could have one to set my plate on. Let me flip to a clean page here, a little bit cleaner so you can see where I'm stamping this morning. And I'm going to put this one right here in the corner. And then from my stamp set, we're going to use May You Enjoy the Peace of This Beautiful Season. And I'm going to line that up so that it's fairly well centered. And the nice part about having the grid lines is if I line my paper up with the grid lines and line my stamp up with the grid lines as well, I have the best chance of getting a nice even stamp. And we're going to use Night of Navy to stamp our saying today. So I'm just going to tap the ink on, close up my ink pad, and then when I close the plate, I'm going to press gently in the center of where the stamp is, open it back up, and there is my sentiment. I will use my chamois to quick clean off my stamp. I try really hard to clean as I go so that at the end I don't have, I know I'm already going to have a bunch of paper scraps to sort and put away, so I don't want extra work for myself, cleaning stamps and plates and all that. Because chances are I'm going to want to get right back to stamping if I have the opportunity. So that I'm going to set aside, and then I can grab my next piece. And on this one, we are going to stamp our cabin in Sahara Sand. So we can line up the cabin where we want it to be. And I tried on this one to kind of line up my roof lines a little bit with the grid lines. I don't think it would matter if it was a little bit crooked, but that was just my plan for that. Okay, and then I can close my plate, pick up my stamp, and this time I'm using Sahara Sand, and I'm just going to tap it on there until it looks like my stamp is fairly well coated. Now, Sahara Sand is a lighter color, so it's a little more difficult to see when all the pieces are covered. But the nice part about the Stamparatus is if I don't get all the spots, I can always add more ink and stamp it right back in the same spot. So I'm going to press in the center again and open it up. And this stamp set is, just so you know, a little bit, it's meant to look not quite as sharp as some of the other ones. It's a softer image. Let me close it one more time. There we go. All right, and now I'm going to clean that stamp off. So I thought this would be a perfect set for the month of November. So today's November 1st. I find that hard to believe. I feel like this year is going by really quickly. Okay, and then while I'm still here, because my next two stamps are kind of small, I'm just going to use my acrylic block, and this is block H. It's not necessarily the one I would use for these small images, but it is the closest one to me. Alright, so I'm going to open my Sahara Sand ink back up, and I'm going to tap my stamp on there gently. And this one, this is the smoke that comes out the chimney, so I'm just going to stamp it off once. And then I'm going to line it up so that it kind of looks like it's coming out of the chimney. And stamp it down. Then I can stamp off a little bit before I clean it. Okay, and next I am going to use this stamp right here with these little stars and snowflakes. You could use them for stars or snowflakes, but I'm just going to put them right up here in the corner. So I'll just tap a little bit and stamp off again, and then I'm going to stamp them right up here in the corner, just like that. And now we can go ahead and finish assembling our card. So this one is a fun fold card. So it has a little bit of a different shape to it. It gives it some interest, I think. And then I added some gems and some ribbon. So I'll I'll show you how I did that. Okay, here is our card base, and here are our other pieces. So first I'm going to attach the sentiment to the background square. And I'm going to use liquid glue. You can use whatever adhesive you have, whatever you like best. This is my favorite. I use it all the time. And I try to always keep a spare bottle. You can find it in the adhesives spot on the catalog. So there is the first one. And to help keep mine from drying up, I always put the lid back on as soon as I can. And when I store it so that this end points down. I hardly ever use the other end, but I like to store it so that this side points down, and it seems to me that keeps the glue so that it's always ready to come right out. So we're going to center our cabin. Excuse me. I haven't had maybe enough coffee this morning. Let me take a quick drink while we're here. And it's cold, which is okay, I guess. I just have to deal with it because I don't have a microwave down here in my craft corner. It would be really nice someday to have maybe like a mini kitchen, but that will take time. So what we're going to do is attach our sentiment to the cabin piece. And I'm just going to put some glue down in this corner. I actually put a little too much glue on my first card, and I almost stuck it shut. So this time I'm not going to do that. So I'm just holding it in place where I would want it to go, and then I'm going to line up my sentiment and hold it down for just a little bit till it gets stuck on there. Alright. And then I can turn it over and whoops, uh-oh, I scooted it a little bit. And press it down a little more till it, now that is the one thing about the liquid glue is it isn't quite dry yet. So while that can be a positive, it can also sometimes work against me. Okay, now to get our cabin on there, we're going to turn it over and grab our Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'm going to put a set of dimensionals, 3 dimensionals along the bottom, like that. And then I'm just going to set it where it would be on the card. And then I'm going to take a few more dimensionals and I'm going to put them along the top of the fun fold piece. Then I can peel those off and take off the back. And I'll set it right here. And there we have the basics of our card. And then I added some of these gilded gems. And if you place an order anytime in the month of November, I will send you a handmade card from my stack and a package of these gilded gems. So they're going to go right along the right-hand side. And there are 3 different sizes of gilded gems. So I just stuck that one to my finger. That you can use for any project. I thought these were really pretty for Christmas. I tend to use a lot more silver than I do gold, but I really like the color of these. And then I have some ribbon here that is called the Fine Art ribbon. So that has some little gold shimmer to it too. And we're just going to make a little bow. So I'm going to make 1 loop. I'm going to go, how did I do it before? I'm trying to remember. I'm going to go around the back and then up through the center. And then slowly I'm going to pull it tight so that I can adjust it a little more before I tighten it down all the way. Because once you tighten it, it's really hard to get it to pull nicely back into shape. If you know of a better way to tie bows, I am always open to learning more about bow tying. I've seen people use forks and all kinds of little tricks, but so far this is the way I found works best for me. So there is our little bow, and I'm going to trim the ends. And we can glue it right on there using a mini glue dot. You can use the liquid glue to glue on ribbon and all kinds of things, but I found that I really like the mini glue dots best for ribbon. So we're just going to stick this right up here. And there we have a really cute fun fold card that could be for, that really could be for Thanksgiving or Christmas or winter. And hopefully the next time I can show you maybe a spring card too. So there is our card for today, cute fun fold, and then you can write your message in here. And this one I don't know where I would write my message. Maybe I could make use of this space over here somehow. I'll have to figure that out before I send that card out. Thank you for joining me today at Crafting in My Corner for coffee and a card. I hope I'll see you again soon. Oh, you were at home. Oh, well, that's not many trick-or-treaters, but that's okay sometimes too. We didn't have very many here either, Kathy. A lot less than what I would think for a neighborhood our size. So maybe next year there'll be more kids. Thank you, Kathy. I thought they turned out really cute, and they're quick. They're a quick, easy card, but they're a little bit special because of that fun fold. So thank you for joining me today. And remember, if you are looking for inspiration, you can use Google and you can search up fun fold cards and you'll find all kinds of different ideas out there. This one actually came from, I think it's called Stampin' with Susie. So thank you for joining me this morning. Let me know if you like the card. Give me a thumbs up. And I will see you in the next video.